Welcome to the Polite Contrarian. We began this series by asking why Britain can't build housing. It didn't take long to discover the truth. We don't just struggle with homes. We struggle with everything. Railways, runways, reservoirs, even roads. In this episode, how do we fix it? How do we get Britain building again? Not just drawing things on whiteboards or holding consultations. Actually building brick, concrete and steel. Britain's default position is simple. Nothing gets built unless the state says so first. We call it a planning system. In reality, it's a state licensing regime for anything more ambitious than putting up a fence. Compare that to countries like Germany, Japan or New Zealand. There, if your building fits within preset zoning rules, you can be much more confident about getting started. You don't need to beg permission from 11 agencies and a retired colonel with a strong view about tree shadows. Bizarrely, this type of approach was once tried in the UK in regenerating London's docklands and other areas and is generally thought to have worked well. Is this a case of amnesia or fear? What makes this worse is that successive governments have spent 3 decades promising reform, only to pull back at the first whiff of public opposition. Planning reform is the British political equivalent of giving up chocolate, always announced, rarely followed through. The UK government says it wants to change. The Planning and Infrastructure Bill promises to streamline decisions, centralise some major projects, and digitise the system. It sounds promising. But read the fine print, and it's largely aspirational. In true British style, the bill proposes more consultations, more pilot programs, and, naturally, new quangos to monitor the problem. Not one brick will be laid by a regulator. It's a start, but it's difficult to see it making much more difference than the last half-dozen similar attempts. It doesn't matter how enthusiastically you talk about your next holiday destination if your neighborhood watch have barricaded you into your driveway. So how do we fix it? 3 words: simplify, speed up, and start building. First, expand the scope of permitted development. If a building is within height, density, and safety rules, it should be allowed. And sensible safety rules, with big windows that open if we want them. No planning permission needed. Critical infrastructure. The same. Stop pretending every new water pipe is a constitutional crisis. If someone complains that the proposed new railway might rattle their windows occasionally, then maybe offer them a discount on some double glazing, but don't immediately put the whole line in a tunnel. Zoning reform is key. Look at Auckland. In 2016, it introduced broad residential zoning in response to a housing crisis. Result: house building surged by 150% in 5 years. Prices flattened. It worked. Tokyo is another model. Its own citywide for medium-density homes. The result: despite being the world's largest city, housing is relatively affordable because supply is allowed to match demand. And yes, it's time to rethink the green belt. Not abolish it, but use common sense. Fields within walking distance of commuter train stations aren't sacred. They are wasted. More than 1 million homes could be built within 10 minutes walk of a railway station, all without touching true countryside. This isn't about concreting over England. It's about undoing decades of planning paranoia. Next, strip down the bureaucracy. The current system invites objections from statutory consultees ranging from Natural England to Historic England to multiple archaeological services. Most offer objections, not solutions. Require constructive contributions only. No vetoes without proposed mitigations. And limit them to serious, evidence-based concerns, not vague character of the area waffling. Ask yourself this: What did the 359,000 pages generated for the Lower Thames crossing actually do to make it a better project? If your report is 10 times longer than the Encyclopedia Britannica, and you still can't learn anything useful from it, something is broken. We should not have to tiptoe past every bat roost and Tudor tile to get permission for a railway line. Unless these bats are the type that assume human form at the full moon and kidnap our firstborn daughters, we shouldn't be that bothered about upsetting them. Infrastructure should be subject to design scrutiny, yes, but not paralysis by paperwork. Britain's planning paralysis is also judicial. Last time, we talked about the Aarhus Convention, an international agreement that guarantees the public a right to environmental information, consultation, and legal challenge. Under Aarhus, legal costs awarded against complainants must be limited, so as not to discourage participation. But as we identified, this makes it incredibly easy for objectors to throw the wrong kinds of spanners into major projects with no real downside. The nature of the objections that are usually brought also try to bring in alleged breaches of the UK's other international law obligations, such as on carbon emissions. But what if we just stopped letting international paperwork veto our infrastructure? Britain could withdraw from Aarhus in 90 days. The consequences? Lots of tantrums at the EU, UN, and environmental NGOs, but no real sanctions. It would be like leaving the PTA, awkward but survivable. But UK compliance is already enshrined in domestic law via the Environmental Information Regulations 2004 and judicial review processes. So withdrawal wouldn't automatically lift the shackles. More subtly then, we could follow France and limit who can object, how long they have, and what they can object about. The costs limits can be legitimately made subject to a test of a good faith challenge brought in the public interest. In France, you can still object, you just can't do it for sport. We could also limit automatic access to judicial review where an impact is remote, trivial, or speculative, with a summary process for shutting down objections that don't meet the test. Abstract concerns, like potential emissions from a project not yet built, should be removed from judicial review. We will be doing a full series on climate and energy policy soon. For now, let's get on with it. We need to rediscover our building instinct. In the 1930s, 50s, and 60s, Britain built. We built suburbs, motorways, power stations, and airports. Often too fast, sometimes imperfectly. But we built. Post-war Britain built over 1 million homes in a single decade, with post-war budgets and manual labour. Today we can't approve 300 homes without a 10-year fight. Today we treat infrastructure as if it's a guilty pleasure, as if the people proposing it should be made to apologise before committee. It's time to flip the burden of proof. If a developer is willing to risk capital to build something lawful and positive, housing, energy, water, the system should presume approval. The burden should lie with those opposing it to show serious, measurable harm and promptly. Let's take a minute to address the claim that Britain lacks the skilled tradespeople, bricklayers, electricians, carpenters, to kickstart development. Yes, the UK construction industry is experiencing a skills shortage. The Construction Industry Training Board estimates that around 252,000 additional workers will be needed between now and 2028 to meet demand. Specific trades like bricklaying, plastering, and electrical work are particularly affected. However, the narrative that this shortage is insurmountable overlooks the market's ability to adapt. As sure as supply follows demand, wages in construction rose by approximately 9% between 2022 and 2023. This wage growth serves as a natural incentive for more individuals to enter the trades, either through training or career shifts. In parallel, an increasing number of young people are questioning the desirability of going to university and incurring tens of thousands of pounds in debt for qualifications that only get them minimum wage jobs in fast food. Make no mistake, we loved student life and we also love burgers, but this isn't sustainable. We will be producing a series on student funding soon, so watch out for that, but for now, the pendulum is swinging towards apprenticeships. The government is uncharacteristically onto this, also taking steps to address the skills gap. Initiatives include the establishment of 32 homebuilding skills hubs and the creation of over 5,000 new apprenticeship positions. These efforts aim to fast-track the development of skilled workers to meet the growing demand. While the skills shortage is a real challenge, it's not an insurmountable barrier. With rising wages attracting new entrants and government initiatives focused on training, the workforce can expand to meet the needs of increased development. The key is to streamline planning and provide clear, sustained demand signals to the labour market. By the time we've sorted the permission stage out, there should be a cohort of eager young trades hoving into view, doubly incentivized to build homes they can live in. We also need to ensure communities benefit. That means better use of Section 106 agreements and community infrastructure levies. Make it transparent. Tie it to what people actually want: schools, parks, GPs, roads. There is no need to force so-called affordable housing into every new development, as long as developers are incentivized through the carrot or the stick to get it done somewhere. But our old friends, the basic laws of economics, will tell you that the need to force affordable homes onto developers will fade away once supply increases organically. We can also reform the taxes around housing. Cut stamp duty land tax to increase market liquidity so those family homes that do exist and are possibly underoccupied by the grandparents can find their way to families who are bursting out of two-bed flats. Then update council tax so it reflects actual property values. Don't be afraid to tax windfall gains from planning permission. Just don't stop the permission. There's nothing economically efficient about a planning system that preserves the wealth of incumbents while locking out younger generations. Reform is both just and economically rational. Britain has the engineering talent, the financial muscle, the demand. What we lack is nerve. If we want to house the next generation, power our economy, and stay relevant in the 21st century, we need to stop asking for permission and start building like we mean it. We are politely contrarian. Watch out for our next series, coming soon. Like, subscribe, or send this to someone who's itching to grab a shovel and save the country. You know the buttons.